I have 3 weeks off, and normally around this time, I'm traveling, especially to visit my in laws. This year, we decided to skip the flight just with so many things going around, but I definitely still wanted to keep my vacation weeks. The reason it's 3 weeks is because my company also has a bunch of holidays this month, and so I just kind of like, what's the word? Bookended. So that's why I end up having more days off than usual. And this year I just thought, why don't I just live the fire life, you know? Like they always say, you want to manifest something? Go live it. Go live it, breathe it, experience it, love it. You know, it beats imagining it. I mean, imagining is fun too. But, you know, your body, your mind, it believes it when it really, all the sensories and stuff. So, I mean, let me just stick to my one story. I can, since I'm gonna like drift if I talk about that, because today actually I really want to talk about helping a friend construct her extra backyard storage shed. Yes, that's how I want to phrase it. So she is fortunate that she's had this house like for so long. It was just decades ago when the house she had, there was a property that it was just empty, and you know, the agent was just like, why don't you just buy both, you know, why not? And luckily they could afford it, and they did, which is genius, because really this easily could be 2 or 3 properties in this one space, you know. And so it's sloped though, and she never, I don't even know what you could do aside from just, I guess, making staggered stairs or getting rid of the dirt and flattening it. I don't even know. But it's also kind of like run wild in a bit, because for me it's like we see so much potential. We see like I guess, you know, I mean, I see people would want pool and jacuzzi, but to me that's such high maintenance. Maybe now, like I would love a jacuzzi, just because as we age, it's like, oh my god, you just enjoy the water, the warm, getting the achy muscles, you know, all that. Being able to soak and restore. But other than that, like, yeah, we could easily have had even if not a second home, like a big studio, like a big, I don't even know, like I can envision in my head, but I can't explain it. Fair enough. I would have loved to have a big garden, a lot of the herbs, a lot of the basic, like maybe tomatoes, onions, carrots, fruits, the berries, the strawberries, the blue blackberries, you know, and whatever I learn and can potentially grow. In my small apartment, I have this little shelf in the backyard that my husband built, and I have like little succulents, and he was surprised the other day because he's like, whoa, wait, why do you have 3? And I said, they just started like overgrowing, and I just wanted to split them out a bit. I'm so grateful that I don't know, I literally used to be succulent killer. And sorry for the fire alarm, we do live nearby one, very active here. So see, I told you, when I storytell, I gotta reel myself back. I gotta get back to that, stick to the story. I can feel also with the vacation mode, I'm drifting. And let me go back to the construction, okay? And because we were talking about her place and all the things we could do with it, you know, including having a nice backyard to host people. Okay, back to the shed. So because it's sloped, because it's dirt, I feel like also working on that, I wonder if it may have warped the material. But also she did say she bought it from the Picket, the cheapest one, And I think you can kind of tell. I feel like the pieces aren't uniform. They didn't quite fit as well together. They're a bit flimsy. The studs and the plywood. Learning terminology here. And also, because we came in after the fact, well, they already kind of did stuff, and we weren't sure. I mean, it kind of made sense that there would be a manual, but I guess because my husband and I didn't see it, we were kind of confused, or we were kind of like leaning on her to direct us. And she's very artsy mind, so it's definitely like she had stuff in her head. She had the visualization in her head, but there wasn't a presentation of it, meaning like, show us beginning to end, show us where you are now, show us what we're here for. But I guess she literally was just kind of like, we're gonna be the wall lifters. So the first thing we did was, one, I was like, crap, she has it on this lifted platform, and I understand why. But she didn't even have all the steps, so it's like you gotta kind of hop up. And she had a little step stool, but again, it's like, be careful, you could easily injure yourself that way. Then she says, here's the 2 walls we have so far, but this wall needs to be lifted up because it's on the platform, lifted up, and then turned around, because when you lift it up, the outside is facing in, and it's in this 90-degree corner with a metal shed already next to it on one side, and a smaller shed there. So we don't have much room. Tiny platform. No leverage outside of that, because there's also shrubbery and branches and, again, the 90-degree fencing that we're bumping into. So we lift it, we hoist it, we turn it around. It's heavy as heck. And then we try to drop it down, except we miss, and it ends up below the platform. And that was another thing that I wish was conveyed ahead of time, so we wouldn't have missed it. So then she says, okay, never mind, it's fine, let's get the other side wall up. So it's like, oh crap, now we gotta lift this up on to the platform, like above, and really hoist it up. And so that was even more work. But at least we could direct it in the right direction, because this way we said, when we get it up there, let's turn it to the correct direction first and then hoist it up. The thing though is, because these 2 join, and because it had like this weird edge thing where it joined, that you really, really had to fit it like a nice tight puzzle piece. Well, again, I didn't know that part. I didn't know if it would even hit the roof of, again, all these things. But she said she measured, so we're just trusting her. So we get it on, and she starts nailing it from like the side facing the front versus the back, and going towards the back. And then it's like, okay, crap, we didn't get that back wall up yet, and now it can't clear, and now we have to somewhat, okay, we're using nail guns, so it's kind of hard to undo our mistakes. And so now we have to somehow undo that jackknife, lift it, shimmy it, and then finally it fits. Oh my gosh. So one, we were like, is it the platform? Is it the board? It turns out to be a combo of everything. It's also potentially the nails, because when you're using these nail guns, it's because of the wood quality, it's bouncing off of it, yeah, so it's crooked. It's warping the board a little bit too. On top of the board, the wood is already not the best quality. Even later on, we found out like one split, but it was like after the fact, and then her daughter kind of said like, yeah, I think it was already pre-split, but she hadn't mentioned it. Yeah, that kind of chaos. So then we got that up, and then we got, thankfully, the other side wall was more of a frame, because she had wanted 2 big windows, so that was nice and easy to get on, very light. Thank you. So she's like, do we have time to build the front wall, and do we have time to do the roof because, well, she wasn't thinking about the roof at first until my husband reminded her it's gonna rain soon, like the next in 2 days it's gonna rain, and we don't know how big the storm may or may not be, because sometimes, you know, being where we are, it turns out just to be nothing, but better safe than sorry. So we said, well, we're here, we're an hour in, let's just get this done. Now the issue came up that one, I'm wearing a long sleeve, my mistake, but thankfully she had a t-shirt I could change into. Two, the sun came out, so where my husband and her daughter ended up building like the wall and the trusses, is that what it's called? Like the roof arches. They were in the heat, and that, man, I didn't think until the end of the day, because we're so busy just doing things that, one, we weren't hungry, we were more thirsty and everything, but even then we reminded ourselves to hydrate, but it wasn't even until 5 o'clock when we stopped and we had dinner that it was like, my goodness, we're so thirsty, you know. We're more thirsty than hungry even, and even though we had dinner, it was like we still didn't have the appetite yet, you know. It's just like our body just wanted to sit, to drink. I even wanted like a massage, because after sitting and getting up, I was like, oof, I felt that. So we're in that heat. There's no shade, and you know, it wasn't until I got home that I just had such an appreciation for construction workers. Like, I knew they worked these conditions, but experiencing it was a whole different level. And even what we experienced was a weaker version, because we definitely had, I felt like, more breaks, and we found our shades, and I kind of was able to pick a little bit of what I could do too, where I wasn't out there the whole time in the sun. I helped paint at one point, and there was some point where I was like thinking, why didn't we paint it first and then put it on? Because also the ladders we had, either one were shoddy and wobbly, or again because of the platform, and plus being outside of the platform, it's hitting up against uneven surfaces, the dirt, the branches, just a lot of things. And afterward, it was like, my God, I'm just dripping the paint back down on me, because having to paint it upside down, and the brush she had, yeah, oh my gosh. She gave me a roller later, which was like, dang it, that would have been nicer. But anyways, yeah, I was just unsure. I wish there was clearer directions. My husband later saw the manual, and he had a better idea, but even then, still wasn't clear. I don't know. I mean, what do you want for the cheapest? Yeah. So yeah, we got it all. Everything was a bit of a mess. Everything wasn't measured correctly, even when we realized it should be. It just, the material too on top of everything. And because of the rain, and because we needed the tarp, and because the trusses or the beams were just not it, we decided we had to put one side of the roof at least, because we just needed that extra support, and it did help. It did firm things up. That was a nightmare. That was the worst jigsaw attempt. It was just really trying to shove things, and I don't know. Thank goodness this is just a storage and not like an actual studio, you know. And trying to stand, like having my husband stand on the somewhat built shed was the scariest thing. Like, he's not strapped onto anything. We at least got him to work. Like, he was standing in the middle at one point, and we're all like, no. Then definitely go towards the end where it's a little more sturdy, and then, you know, once we get at least one side, you get even more. But it was crazy. It was it just reminded me of like my dad when, as a child, like I vaguely remember he did construction, and it ended because he fell. He fell and he hurt his back. Not bad enough that it like messed him up, like, but it just, my mom definitely was like, no more construction, and he listened, which was a shame because he loved it. And I don't know if he was good at it, because it was definitely not one of those like you got education, like a degree in it. It's just under, yeah, anyways, he ended up taking that home and doing it. And definitely when I looked at his craftsman's, it was like you could tell he tried to measure and think, but he didn't have the materials, he didn't have the techniques and skills, but he did what he could. So some things were a bit shoddy, you know, and some things, it's the presentation, like it was sturdy, but it wasn't pretty. Like he didn't add finishing touches, like the paint or the like moldings or the, what do you call it, design, I guess. Yeah. So all this just, you know, reminded me of that. Just kudos to the construction people. And holy moly, it definitely was eye-opening, because I've definitely been wanting different experience from what I'm doing. And while I am thankful for my, I'll just say, office job without getting any more details of what I do, I also did enjoy this though. You know, it's a lot more satisfying because it's my own hands, and to see the piece, you know, and to see, it was more rewarding up front and long run. Yeah. So I guess like part of why I'm sharing it is because of the thought process itself, you know, because of also at work I had to do this Discovery Insight, and we do it in advance, and then in December we'll find out what color we are: red, yellow, blue, green. And this is where it's like, yeah, iPhone, iPad is spying on us, because I told my husband about that and he'd never heard of that. And then one day he's on Libby app and it's recommending him, I think the book's called like We're Surrounded by Idiots, which is a hilarious title, but it had the colors. It caught his attention as he read it. Then he told me like it just reminded me of what I was explaining, except like it had more details, because obviously I don't have the details yet. And he's explaining like the different personalities, the different strengths and weaknesses. He didn't explain that this book also tells you like how to adapt or work with the different colors. That's just very him though. I definitely want to know about that part. But anyways, he says I'm very red, he's green. And the reds are very like quick and action oriented. Like as soon as you have a thought, it's like execute it now versus later, like no procrastinating. And it's not to say like we're not gonna figure out directions and stuff and follow, we do, but it's like don't waste time, you know. The greens are just like altruistic, like about keeping the peace. Yes. The yellow are like the jovial people, the hey, let's have everyone feel good and that kind of stuff. The blue are the engineers, the scientists, the data, like where it's like the blue and yellows are kind of opposite, because the yellows are all about relationships and personalities and not the data. And you know, again, the blues are vice versa. And I guess the reds and the greens are kind of opposites, because the reds are very like self and let's go, let's rush, and the greens are like everyone and more like chill. And now there's more to it than that, but I'm just very like brief in terms of just thinking about my work, my wanting to swap to a different industry, trying new things first to figure out what I do love and not love and why. And also wherever I go, there'll be people and all these different personalities, so definitely trying to understand that more, work with that, you know. So that's in part why I wanted to share that story and share about the insight discovery, the personalities, and we will go from there and just kind of see, you know, in the future if there's a part two. Like for instance, once I go into office and all of us are there, and we figure out what the test says our color is and what the other people are and what we learn from there. And in the meantime, I'm hoping to get more of this kind of hands-on experience in different fields. It's so good, so nice to learn about me, really. To learn about what I enjoy and what I can do, and to have a newfound appreciation for the skills that I've developed for a long time. And I don't know if I would say master it. I think other people who, you know, if they see it comes easier to me, might think I've mastered it. And it's definitely hard to pass that on, you know, like how do you pass on something you've learned in college for 4 years? You know, how do you pass on something you've been doing for almost 20 years? So that's a lot of, you know, the teaching learning aspect that I'm still exploring. And I'm curious too to hear from other people. I definitely do learn from other people's stories and experiences. I know other people don't, because they're very like, I need to see it, I need to see it, you know. And here I am, like very like, okay, if this is the idea, there is a plan, we can adjust, we can try, we can work, we can move. The goal is always to move forward, which again is very red. And we'll get there. And reds are very goal oriented, like we're going to reach that goal, you know, some way, somehow, we're going to reach it. So here's to all of our future goals and all our future desires, and to learning more about ourselves and others, our skills, our knowledge, and most importantly, our worth. Because we keep having, I think for me, I've definitely undervalued myself, because I've always thought I'm average, and I've always, now being able to look back, I'm just kind of like, my gosh, you know, sometimes people get like, oh, it's hard to approach me, or the way they say things kind of annoy me, because they're like, yeah, I know you don't want to help, and it's like, I've been helping, like you guys don't help back, you know, and you guys don't even help each other, like what the fuck. And then they're saying I'm impatient, and it's true, I'm impatient, but so are they. But maybe it's not so much that they're impatient, but that they give up, or they don't have the plan or the drive or whatever it is. And so I'm learning what aspects of myself I want to embrace and improve, and including, you know, even aspects that are kind of tinged with negativity but aren't, you know. Like my impatience is where I know like that something is important to me, because otherwise I wouldn't feel all those emotions. I wouldn't feel frustrated and annoyed. It's because I care that I do. So now I know that about myself. It sounds funny to say, but it's true. And what can I do with that, you know? And it's like, I definitely have to acknowledge that more and really understand where I'm coming from with my own thoughts, you know? Because I'm moving so fast, I'm not even processing myself, my ideas, my thoughts, my emotions. And, you know, if I can't even do that for myself, how am I going to do that for other people? So, and that's very me. I won't analyze this kind of stuff. I can definitely see, my husband too says, definitely got that blue too in me. But what's different is, it's not just data analysis. What's great about the red is that action that follows it, you know. I love that part. I love it. Okay, stop rambling. I'm definitely going to end it now. And thank you for listening. If you've listened this far, amazing. Say hello. Sorry, before I leave, okay, one last thing. I've tried doing this before and I gave up. So that's one thing I'm trying to learn, is just kind of like, even though this isn't polished, putting something imperfect out there anyways, putting my voice out there anyways, and eventually polish myself. All this right now is that cool stuff, but it's great because it's raw and it is what it is. And eventually, I've seen, for me, it's like finally seeing like, yeah, the YouTubers or other people, podcasters, they're beginning to now. And just feeling good about allowing myself to mess up, to just learn, to just do, to just be me. Yeah. So thank you for allowing me this. Thank you for listening. That to me is amazing. That to me is huge. That, to be listened to, very huge.